Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome to the MMA breakdown. This is my recap for UFC Fight Night 44, Swanson versus Stevens, and I was 5 for 9 on my picks for this card. The fights that I picked incorrectly: Guamaraes, Andy Enns, Gibson, Johnny Bedford, Ferreira, Colton Smith, and Hester and Braga Neto. And I did not pick on the Ellenberger Muntazri fight, and the opening fight on Fight Pass, Alexei Olenek and Anthony Hamilton. I was expecting this card to be way better than the New Zealand card. I still think, and it wasn't it wasn't as exciting as I thought. There were some real disappointing fights on here that I thought were going to be a lot better, especially the Lamas fight, also the Ferreira fight. That's the Cesar Ferreira Andrew Craig fight. The Cody Gibson Johnny Bedford fight ended very very disappointing end to that fight. But I still think this card had the far more meaningful fighters and matchups on it. Guys like Gastelum, Lamas, obviously the main event, even Clint Hester. A lot more meaningful matchups than the New Zealand card. But overall, both cards on the same day, it's kind of a lot of the same stuff. Again, kind of a lot of low-level fights, some kind of long, boring decisions. These two cards in one day. This approach by the UFC, I don't think it's quite. I don't think it's quite worked out to be as exciting as one might hope it to be. But let's get into the recap all the fights and give you my thoughts on what happened. So on the UFC Fight Pass preliminary card, Alexei Olenek submitted Anthony Hamilton in the first round with a neck crank. I thought this was a really fun finish. Olenek was able to out-wrestle Hamilton, got him down. He cracked him on the feet at one point, and once he got him down, he wrapped up that neck crank. I'm not even really sure how it worked. Never seen that before in the UFC, but I loved seeing something unusual like that. Just a kind of a brute force power move, a throwback to those old UFC days way back. But I thought it was a really fun finish, especially for a heavyweight fight. He got the neck crank, and good performance by Olenek making his debut. Over the last month or so with the other Fight Pass cards, there have been some other heavyweights making their debuts. Ruslan Magomedov, Rogerio de Lima from Marcos Rogerio de Lima from Tough Brazil 3. I think an opponent like that, low-level heavyweight, will be good for Olenek. I mean, the heavyweight division is just so weak as it is. I mean, even the top 10, not to say there are no good fighters there, but guys who are going to challenge Kane or Dos Santos, I don't think there's anyone who's going to come up to be able to face those guys. But there can be some real fun fights, and I said this in my recap for the Auckland card. Who's the heavyweight that won there? Let me see real quick. Paleli, who just came off of a loss. Guys like that, you can mix and match all those guys, those heavyweights, and I think there's sure to be some fun fights. Guto Innocente and Derek Lewis fighting next week in the Tough finale. Those low-level heavyweights like that, far outside the top 10, I think any of those guys could be a good matchup for Olenek, and really fun finish here, and hopefully he can keep having some exciting fights. But do I think he can be a contender or even top 10? Not at all. And Anthony Hamilton, obviously, I don't expect anything out of him. And moving on to the Fox Sports 1 preliminary card at flyweight, Ray Borg with a great performance, submitting Shane Howell in the first round. Right out of the gate, Ray Borg was able to get inside, land a good punch, and then took down Shane Howell with a very clean-looking takedown. Had a very quick shot, got him down, took his back, and subbed him. We saw that great back-taking ability he has that he showed against Dustin Ortiz. He took Ortiz's back several times. It's just lightning fast how he takes the back. He gets both hooks in and takes the back all in one seamless motion. Really impressive, and I think this is the guy. Not saying he's going to be the guy to beat Demetrius Johnson, but I think he's one of these Justin Scoggins type of prospects. They're both in the same weight class. I think he's really talented. He looked great in this fight, great in his debut against Ortiz. I think he's going to climb that ladder at flyweight really quickly, and I think we'll see him at the top challenging for the title probably within, I think within the next year if he fights enough, he can get up there in the top 10, even the top 5. Really great performance for Borg. And Shane Howell took this fight on short notice, but got beat pretty badly. So we'll have to see him again. But was really impressed with Ray Borg, and this is the guy to keep an eye on at flyweight. Next up, a middleweight, Marcelo Guimaraes took a split decision over Andy Enns. This is a pretty boring fight. Guimaraes, he looked a lot better than he did. This was his first fight at middleweight in the UFC. His other 2 fights were at welterweight. He got knocked out by Hyun-Gyu Lim, and before that won a decision over Dan Stitchin, but still looked terrible in both of those fights. And here he looked a lot better. Not that I have any expectations for him to do anything significant in the division, but looked a lot better. Got a good slam on Enns early on. He was able to land, really work that leg kick well. Started to buckle Enns in the third round with that leg kick. Was controlling the striking range better than Enns. I think I gave Enns the second round. I think he was able to land a few good shots, but really it was Guimaraes was just more active and threw a higher volume of strikes and kicks. But a pretty uneventful fight and disappointing performance for Enns. He looked tough against Clint Hesser, although he really had no success there. Just kind of got beat up for the whole fight. And then here, Guimaraes, I think, is a real low-level guy in the UFC, and Enns really couldn't do much against him. I think that's it for Enns. I mean, they'll probably keep him around, but I mean, I don't have any hope for him to do anything of significance, and I pretty much feel the same way about Guimaraes, and I really wouldn't, care if I never saw these guys fight again. Just real low-level fighters. Enns is super young, though, but of course, he has time to improve, but I can't say, I have any hope for him or that I'm interested in his next fight. Next up at bantamweight, Cody Gibson knocked out Johnny Bedford, or really a TKO in the first round. Horrible stoppage. Looked like the ref came in. He looked like he touched Cody Gibson's chest as if he was going to stop the fight, but didn't. Gibson looked at him. Wasn't even hitting Bedford, and the ref looked, like he had to make a quick decision, like he was, just seemed like he was nervous and just stopped the fight. Really terrible stoppage. Obviously, Bedford was hurt and dazed, but, his eyes were open. Didn't even really look like his eyes were rolled back into his head. He had his legs up. He was trying to work his guard. Gibson did hit him with one shot after he knocked him down, but no follow-up shots after that, and pretty bad stoppage. Bedford came out really aggressive at the beginning, landed some good shots, backed Gibson up against the fence. He landed a flying knee, and Gibson threw a really good counter shot with his back right up against the fence that sent Bedford flying, knocked him down. I can't say Gibson would have won. I can't say he would have knocked Bedford out cold, really finished him off if the fight had gone on, but it was kind of looking that way if he had landed some more shots. But, I want to see Bedford again. I think he's a really exciting guy, has a really aggressive, exciting style. And Cody Gibson, I thought, looked better here than he did against Aljamain Sterling, where he really got dominated. But he did hurt Bedford, and Bedford's been fairly successful in his UFC career after TUF 14. So, I think it was a good showing for Gibson, even though it was a really early stoppage. And Bedford, it's probably better for him that the fight was stopped early. Wasn't, instead of getting knocked out cold, I think, he still has interest in him and some momentum. Really unfortunate. Both of his last two fights have both ended in disappointing fashion with the headbutt over Yaya. But I want to see Bedford get back in there, and Gibson, I have a little more interest in him now, seeing that he has some power. And next up, the last fight on the preliminary card, Carlos Diego Ferreira with a super impressive, super dominant win over Colton Smith. I didn't know anything about Ferreira going into this fight, but boy, he was dominant. Took him no time at all to get the finish. It says 38 seconds here in the first round. Ferreira got him with that judo throw, leg trip, put Colton Smith down, immediately cinched up the rear naked choke, but didn't even take the back, kind of similar to the bulldog choke that Backstrom got Nenamaki with last month. But didn't even have to take the back. He did have that hook in between Colton Smith's legs to keep him from escaping, and just a real quick, dominant finish. It was great. Really high on Ferreira now. Really excited to see what he can do going forward. Just seems like a really strong grappler. Great judo throw takedown to get Smith down, and I think that's the end of the road for Colton Smith. And I don't think he was as bad as everyone else thought. A lot of people seem to really hate him. Kind of a lay and pray guy. That's how he beat Mike Ricci, but this is his third loss in a row. Past two losses coming to other tough winners, but just seems like he can't compete. It's his second first round finish loss in a row, and finished in his last three fights. I think that's the end of the road for him. It's too bad, because I thought he had some decent talent, I thought, with his wrestling, and he even dropped Whitaker at one point in that fight, but got ran over here. And again, high on Ferreira. Excited to see him again. And onto the main card, lightweight Joe Ellenberger took a split decision over James Muntasri. I thought this fight was a draw. I thought that first round was a 10-8 for Muntasri, and I scored the next two rounds for Ellenberger. Muntasri has an interesting karate style, but he kind of rubbed me the wrong way in this fight. I thought a lot of times when he had Ellenberger hurt, he could have jumped on him and finished him, and I don't know if he just wasn't able to, but I don't know, it just didn't seem like he was really set on getting that finish. I think in that third round at one point he had Ellenberger dead on the feet, and Ellenberger was able to just take him down again. After being dropped in that first round and having Muntasiri on him, raining down big shots. Ellenberger survived and really showed great heart and grit. Was able to use his wrestling second and third round to get Muntasiri down, land some of his own ground and pound. But I don't think Ellenberger is going to do much in the division. He just seemed, he wasn't defensive enough with his striking. Obviously, Muntasiri has, kind of an unorthodox style. He does have heart, but I don't know how far that's going to carry him. Ellenberger was supposed to fight, he had several opponent changes, but I think one of them was Frank Trevino, and I think someone like that, a really low-level guy, has only had one fight. Someone like that has only had a couple fights in the UFC. I think that's, a fit opponent for Ellenberger next. I think he needs to be brought along really slowly. And Muntasiri obviously showed he has some power. He can be dangerous, but I just didn't really like his performance in grappling. I don't think he ever moved a mount, and he had Ellenberger hurt. I don't know. Something about his performance I didn't really like. And I don't expect too much from him either, but we'll see going forward. Next up in middleweight, Clint Hester got the split decision over Antonio Braga Neto. Another decision that I thought was a bit controversial. Braga Neto, I thought that first round, again, could have been a 10-8. Really dominated Hester, got him down early. He was working some ground and pound, nothing significant, but I thought that first round could have been a 10-8, and even if it wasn't, I thought the second round you could have scored it either way. But I scored it for Neto. I thought that was the more logical way to score it. He had Hester mounted again in that second round after Hester opened the round with some decent striking, and then that third round I gave to Hester. He came out really aggressive, was able to hurt Neto a little bit. Really came out like he was trying to knock him out, and that's how he should have been fighting since the first round. Can't remember if Neto got him down again in that third round, but if he did, he didn't keep him down like he did the other two rounds, and Hester was able to get back to the feet. Hester basically survived, and I thought it was pretty surprising that Neto couldn't really come close with any submissions, especially because Hester wasn't really defending on the ground at all. He looked pretty helpless. Wasn't even trying to recover half guard when Neto had him mounted. And Neto coming off of a really good submission win, knee bar submission win in his last fight. But Hester, I still think obviously has a big hole with his takedown defense and when he's on his back. Really has to fix that if he's going to continue to win against better guys. And his striking, he doesn't seem to be putting combinations together too well, and doesn't seem to really be able to, not dangerous enough to knock guys out, when he does get opportunities on the feet. Kind of lost some hope for him. Hype train's kind of backed up a bit for Hester. It is 4 wins, I believe, in a row for him, but he's only had one finish, and those one legitimate finish in that win streak. And I don't know. I don't think he's really been improving too much. And Braga Neto, again, I thought it was pretty disappointing that as much time as he spent in mount, wasn't able to come close to a submission, and I think that's pretty concerning for him going forward, especially over a guy like Hester. So I'm not expecting much from either of these guys, but Hester kept his win streak alive, and we'll see if he can get better and be able to use his striking better next time, be more lethal with it, and hopefully he shores up that hole in his takedown defense. Next up at featherweight, Ricardo the Bully Lamas got a unanimous decision over Hakran Diaz. This is a fight that I was expecting to be pretty exciting. I was really excited for this fight, and it ended up being a dud. I do agree with the decision here. Lamas was more aggressive with his striking. Didn't seem to land a lot of clean punches, but just landed more strikes, I think, in total than Diaz did. Diaz showed great takedown defense. I think Lamas didn't get him down until I believe it was the third round. Diaz wasn't able to get Lamas down either, but I thought Diaz's takedown defense looked a lot better, or was more impressive than how Lamas was defending the takedowns. But Lamas just couldn't really get to him enough with the striking to hurt him, and just kind of an uneventful fight. But good win for Lamas. He fought more aggressively than he did against Aldo. Thought he had a lot more concerted effort to come forward and land strikes in this fight, and I think that's how he should be fighting. Obviously, again, disappointing that he wasn't able to get Diaz down and just be more effective really with any part of his game. Diaz, this is 2 losses in a row now for him, both to wrestlers, Nick Lentz and Lamas. I really liked his win over Yuri Alcantara in his debut, but that was 2 years ago now, and it's time for him to start winning fights and start proving why he deserves these high-profile fights. And I think this win here, this fight over Lamas, I think this makes Lentz's win over Diaz a lot more impressive. If I remember correctly, Lentz was able to get Diaz down for the first 2 rounds pretty much at will. And yeah, good win for Lamas, but this isn't a fight. It's going to keep him alive as a contender at featherweight, but it's not putting him there right now as an immediate contender for the belt. He's got to have a more dominant performance than that over another contender, but decent win for him. Next up, middleweight, Cesar Mutanche Ferreira got the unanimous decision over Andrew Craig. I thought he was going to knock out Craig in the first round. He did land a big punch that dropped Craig, and then he cinched up that front headlock. He got that gable grip that he's finished guillotines with before on Tough Brazil 1 in the house. And he also had that great guillotine over Thiago Moreta Santos in his debut. In Santos's debut in the UFC a year ago, but wasn't able to finish the choke, and then from then on it was a pretty boring fight. Ferreira was able to land some more kicks. He has that capoeira style, landed some front kicks, some body kicks, and Andrew Craig really couldn't do much until that third round where he came alive. It was under a minute left, and Craig was just going for broke. Dazed Ferreira a bit, had him rocked, couldn't finish him. But I thought this was a pretty disappointing performance for Ferreira. I mean, Craig got dominated and finished pretty easily by Luke Barnett in their fight, and I thought Ferreira, with his striking ability and his submission ability, I thought he'd be able to handle Craig pretty easily. And Ferreira, he only had 1 loss in his UFC career after Tough to Dalloway in his last fight, and before that he was on a 3-fight win streak. But I think this fight really is very telling of Ferreira's abilities and where he's had all the hype and high expectations I had for him. They're completely gone. This was the guy I thought he should have really looked good against and had a breakout performance against, but he didn't. Couldn't do much to hurt Craig after that, initially dropping him in the first round. So I thought it was pretty disappointing, and really kind of writes the book on Ferreira. He's having trouble really implementing his game and hurting guys. And I thought he looked great in Tough Brazil 1 in the house, but just doesn't seem to be the same guy anymore. Maybe it was just that the competition in the house was a lot easier, but not high on him anymore. And Craig, I thought this guy's pretty overrated because of his knockout win over Rafael Natal, but he's really just an average fighter. He doesn't have much that he can do to guys, either with his wrestling or his striking. I mean, his biggest asset, I think, is just his heart and his grit, but that only goes so far. And I mean, he was finished by Luke Barnett, who, Barnett's a good prospect, but Barnett couldn't get past Strickland, and for him to finish Craig that badly, I thought, in hindsight, it's pretty revealing. I think Craig's just an average fighter, and I don't expect him to do anything. And of course, I don't expect anything from Ferreira either going forward. Next up, co-main event, Kelvin Gastelum got the unanimous decision over Nicholas Musoke. Musoke in that first round looked, I thought, incredible. He was able to pick Gastelum up and slam him at one point. He showed that same crafty grappling that he did over Viscardi Andrade. Was able to take Gastelum's back, worked for that rear naked choke a few times, really dominated him in that first round. I was very surprised. But then that second and third round, Gastelum just came back. I thought it was really, while I was really concerned about how he got dominated in the first round, I thought the way he came back, and for being such a young fighter, to go through that adversity in the first round and to come back and really implement his striking game and just go out after Musoke, especially at the opening of that second round. He looked like he might finish Musoke, hurt him with some shots and chased him down, but kept attacking in the second and third round. He throws that high kick a lot. He used that to catch and knock down Rick Story, but he really wore Musoke down with the striking, hit him with some real good kicks to the body, and got to him with the boxing. So solid performance for Gastelum. And Musoke, I think, showed a lot in that first round too. I didn't really take him seriously as a top fighter with his wins over Andrade and before that over Sakara, but I think he's legit. It was a tough test for Gastelum. I thought Gastelum was just going to knock him out, run over him. Gastelum has a problem making that weight, though. I was over by, I think, a couple pounds, almost 2 pounds. And I believe he missed weight in the Story fight as well. No, maybe not. I think he might have missed it and made it on the second attempt, but he's having trouble making that weight, and I think that might catch up to him. He's really got to fix that, and I think that might have been part of why he got off to such a slow start in this fight. But decent win for Gastelum. I still think he's a top prospect. And after the Story fight, this was, I think, a big, not a huge, but this was a step down, I think. But he's got to be able to win these fights against lower and higher ranked guys, and I think it was good for him to get that tough win over Story, and then to fight a guy like Musoke, lower ranked guy who still gave him trouble. But I'm high on Gastelum still. In the main event, Cub Swanson getting the unanimous decision over Jeremy Stephens. Great fight by both guys. Both guys proved that they are top contenders and they belong here. And Cub Swanson, I mean, this guy's been on an incredible streak. And it was really surprising to me that people were saying Stephens had the power advantage going into this fight. I mean, Stephens knocked out Honey Jason in those 2 fights ago, I think. And then, but before that, before knocking out Honey Jason, his last knockout win came against Marcus Davis 3 years ago, right? Yeah, 3 years ago. 3 years ago against Marcus Davis, and in Cubs' most recent streak, he knocked out Charles Oliveira, stopped Ross Pearson, Dennis Seaver, George Roop, and I really think he's still underrated. Yeah, I just wanted to make that point that Swanson, I think, has shown that he has more power and he's been able to knock out more guys than Stevens has recently. But Cub Swanson's been on an incredible streak. They gave him another really tough guy in Stevens, who's done very well coming down to featherweight. And Swanson, this was another tough fight for him. No one in that streak was able to give him as tough a fight or hurt him as much as Stevens did. Especially that second round, Stevens was really... that second round I thought was Stevens' most dominant round. Was able to crack Swanson several times, but Swanson came back, didn't fold. And that third and fifth rounds, those were 3 and 5 were the rounds that I gave definitively to Swanson. And especially in that fifth round, just chased after Stevens, had him hurt, landed that kick to the body a few times that really hurt Stevens, and Swanson was just able to be more composed with his striking, and he was able to hurt Stevens more as the fight went on. Great fight for both guys, and great win for Swanson. Six fight win streak. Lots of finishes in that win. Actually finished everyone. I think everyone except Poirier and Stevens, and those are both really good guys. And Stevens did drop him in that first round, I think. And just a great win for Swanson. I will say I wasn't sure that Swanson had won the fight. I thought 3 and 5 he won easily. 2 easily Stevens. And then 1 I thought could have gone either way. And round 4 I thought also was hard to call. But Swanson's on a great win streak. He definitely deserves the next shot over the champion, whether it's Aldo or Mendez or anybody. I thought he deserved it even before the Seaver fight. But 6 fight win streak. That he did, get dominated by Aldo last time, but that was in the WC, and that was so long ago. That was, let's see here, 2009, 5 years ago. He deserves that rematch with Jose Aldo, definitely, and I think he can be potentially be the biggest threat to Aldo. I think Mendez, if he fights, if he has his head right and goes out there aggressively, not like he did the last time, just desperately trying to hang on to Aldo's waist. If he just goes in there and strikes, I think he has a decent chance of being competitive with Aldo. But Cub Swanson is so aggressive, and he can knock you out in the first round like he did to Oliveira. He can knock you out in the third round like he did to Seaver, or he can just win a really tough decision, even if you hurt him, have some success early on like Stevens. He's not going to get discouraged. He's going to work through that. I'm super high on Swanson, and I think it's a real treat every time I get to see him fight. And Stevens, too, again, I thought he really proved himself here, and I think he's going to be in that next group of guys below the immediate contenders like Mendez and Swanson. I think Stevens is going to be right there. This loss doesn't set him back at all. It just keeps him right below those top contenders. I think he can fight the winner of Edgar and Penn, Oliveira, who just came off of a great win, or even Dustin Poirier, who's been on a really good streak. Stevens is gonna be a tough contender and a tough matchup for any of those guys. But great win for Swanson. Can't wait to see him fight for the title. All right, guys, that's my recap for UFC Fight Night 44, Swanson versus Stevens. Thanks a lot for watching. That was a bit of a long recap. Sorry. Check out my recap for Fight Night Auckland. Check out my picks for 175 and also for the TUF 19 finale. And I'll be back with recaps for both of those events next weekend. Thank you guys. Take care, and I'll see you later. Bye.